Stacy Stengel, and I'm with Central State University Extension, and I'm here at Coit Farmers Market with Kevin. And we are doing some food demos in the downtime when we can't be socially close to each other. So in the meantime, since I can't do face-to-face workshops like I normally do, which is this backdrop, eating smart, being active, we're doing products that you can make at home, foods and recipes, and also include products from the market. I picked up a number of different things here each week that I bring and prep for our cooking groups. And the recipes that we're doing today are all ground meat based, except for one vegetable lasagna. And the recipe we're going to start with is the easy marinara sauce. And the marinara sauce you can use in all different types of recipes. They don't have to be pasta based. And so I'll demonstrate that in some of the recipes that we're doing today. So starting with our easy marinara, we are going to first put 2 tablespoons of oil into the pan and let that heat up a little bit, because as soon as it starts heating up, we're going to add our onions and garlic and get that cooking. With the onions and the garlic, in this case I got some red onions and controlling the flame, but white onions, yellow onions, actually these are more purple, but they're meant to be red. And it's just the amount of flavor and sweetness that the onions bring to it. We'll add the onions in. This was 2 medium-sized onions, and also the garlic powder. If you don't, you can use regular garlic or granulated garlic, or fresh garlic. It's up to you what you would like. Once you get the onions and the garlic in here cooking up, you want to let them cook and stir it periodically so they don't burn. But you're going to cook for about 10 minutes to get the onions to develop a more mellow flavor, and they're going to become clear or translucent, which means that you can't quite see through them like a glass, but they are going to be not as white as they were before you put them in. So in the 10 minutes, we're going to talk about tomatoes. In this case, we're using canned tomatoes. If you were making this fresh, you want to make sure that you're going to get tomatoes that are meaty rather than slicing tomatoes. And it does make a difference, because the meat tomatoes have a lot more flesh on the inside and less seeds and juice, so they cook down better and you have a more robust sauce. I, especially during the summer, I grow my own vegetables, and I do tomatoes in my garden so that I make sure that I have tomatoes throughout the winter for sauces and soups and bases that I make, because I'm particular about that and I like gardening. So our onions are cooking up really nice. They're very fragrant, as well as the garlic. Sometimes you might want to wait to put the garlic in so you don't burn it, because garlic doesn't cook at the same rate that onions do. And then you can also can, which the farmers market here, when we do go back to being able to do face-to-face meetings, they do some canning and preserving workshops here at the market. And so you can find out and practice doing that yourself for produce you buy and then you can process. So the onions and the garlic is cooking up really nice. We are ready to move on to the next step. So in this case, our easy marinara has a few more ingredients than you may anticipate, we're gonna put more vegetables into it. So besides the onions, we're gonna add some carrots and celery. In this case, you can add any other vegetables. We're going to amp it up, and not only am I doing carrots, which by the way, I got these carrots last weekend over from EC Grows, and they in fact have, there's yellow, there's a cream color, there's orange, and then they gave me red, and there were purple carrots in there too. And then I had celery, trickier growing than you think. I cut up some peppers, just regular red peppers, or yellow, green peppers. And then I had a zucchini, so I chopped up my zucchini, and I had some eggplant. So I chopped up some eggplant, and so all of these things are going into what originally was just a basic tomato. And you can chop them up and then process them down for a smoother sauce later on. That is one of my cheats that I do at home, is I just chop things up really rough, cook it all down, and then I get out my immersion blender and then process them down into sauces. So it saves me a lot of prep work and time, because I just let the cooking process mellow everything out and cook through. So you're going to continue to cook these for about 5 minutes until they're soft. The ones that are going to be the toughest are going to be the carrots, so you want them to cook all the way through, because it will make a difference as you're trying to process them. So we've gone and we have used all these different ingredients here. The only two things we have left, actually 3 things, is we have the Italian seasoning, the tomatoes, and then the bonus at the end, we're going to put spinach in and cook that up. I know I don't have that touch yet. Finding the right place at the right time. So now it's been about 5 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and add our tomatoes. In this case, I made sure to buy tomatoes. These are grown locally, as in over by Toledo. If you ever drive down 80 during the summer, you will see the tomato fields on both sides of 80, just east of Toledo. And they go on and on as far as, usually you think of corn and other products out there, but in fact they have, this particular company grows their tomatoes there. So they're in fact Ohio proud, so you don't have to feel bad that it's canned tomatoes.
People don't realize that Ohio is the 3rd largest producer of tomatoes in the country, right behind California and Florida. So while you think of corn and everything, when you think of Ohio, we produce a huge amount of tomatoes.
Mm-hmm. So, thank you. So we have the crushed tomatoes. Don't look at the front. I sent my mom to the store and she brought me dice. So
There's a reason to buy dice, though. If you ever pour a can of tomatoes in through a strainer and see how much solids you get for liquids, diced tomatoes have the most solids ratio to liquids.
Oh.
If you buy whole peeled, which a lot of people suggest, you actually get a lot less tomato meat and a lot more sauce in the can, which may or may not matter to you depending on what you're making.
Right.
But I buy a lot of dice just because I'm actually getting a little bit more for the money.
Well, you know, as you've seen it coming out here, their idea of diced really lends me to more of chopped.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I mean, what I diced in our veggies that I put in here. So we have all of our vegetables in except for the spinach. You're going to cook this. You're going to turn it up and bring it to a boil. And then you're going to need to cook through for about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. And recipe that we're gonna put together is a cream seasoning mix. And we're gonna use this base when we make the beef and potatoes. And it turns out like a thinner Alfredo, but more flavorful, with less fat. So the best way to do this is to start with a bag, because you're making a mixed base and you're not gonna use all of it at the same time. So you wanna store it, and this way you can seal it and keep it fresh for longer. So the cream base consists of 2 cups of dried milk. In this case, I have the non-fat dry. And then it's 3/4 of a cup of minced onions, 2 tablespoons of parsley, and a combination of 1 teaspoon of pepper and 1 teaspoon of garlic. And you just press out the air and seal. And then you're gonna mix this up. Put a date on it so you know when that you made it, and use it within a few months. So later on in our recipe, we're gonna use this with our beef and potatoes. So keep an eye out for that. So now it's been 30 minutes. And we've got our tomato sauce looking really good. So remember I told you, even though it's still chunky, that if you want a smoother tomato sauce, just if you have an immersion blender, use that. Or if you have a electric mixer, that will work as well. You just put it in, after you let it cool down, and just work it through. You can also put it through a food processor. Really, it's up to you. Also, some people still have the food mills, where you just push it through the strainer and it just grinds it right up and down and through.
I love food mills. I own a bunch of them.
Okay, so you're a food mill collector.
Yes, I wouldn't say that. I don't collect them for any reason, but I actually do grab them when I get them, because I think it's a great tool. I don't know why it ever fell out of favor.
Yeah.
I use it all the time.
Because when making my tomato sauce, I went through that phase of using a mill. And then I have a Victorio strainer, and then I don't even peel my tomatoes. I just clean them, pop the stem out of it, cut them in quarters, put them in and then I just use the immersion blender. The skins and everything, because tomato, once you cook it, it releases the lycopene. That's good for your heart. So the skins store a lot of the lycopene as well. And it's also a good anti-inflammatory.
Absolutely.
I was just reading an article this morning before I came in about anti-inflammatories and what vegetables in particular are really good for your body in being anti-inflammatory. And then the most inflammatory things, did you know what that is? The number one, sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar.
That makes sense.
Sugar it irritates people and brings out the worst autoimmune, the arthritises and pains and lupus. So it causes flare-ups. So that's a consideration. They say that food is medicine. Well, it's also preventative as well.
Right.
So now the next step, I have my chopped spinach. There are 2 cups of chopped spinach that are going in here. And that needs to cook for about 10 more minutes. So we'll stir that up. And so in our marinara, coming up later, besides I already skillet lasagna, mac and beef skillet. That's very quick to make. And here's some beef stroganoff. That comes together very quickly. A lot of the products that I'm using today, especially the ground beef, is available here at the market. They do have it for sale. It comes in 1 pound packages, and then they also have ground pork. So if the ground beef is not your preference, then they also have ground pork available. Chicken and turkey, you're going to have to go to your own store to get that, though. All right, so.
Outlets back there don't work real well. Try the ones behind the where the stove's plugged in.
Okay. They don't work well, or they don't work at all.
Well, they're intermittent because sometimes they seem to work. Next thing.
Oh boy.
There you go.
Edit that out. All right, so we got the immersion blender. We're gonna add that in, turn down our heat. And that does fast work at making it nice and thin. Now, since we have the other vegetables in there, it's not as bright red as what it started out as. It's gone down to a more mellow orange. And here might be where, if you're into curry and other seasonings that are also considered anti-inflammatory, you can add them in here as well for a boost. So now we have a thicker sauce. Yeah, that's so, see, we have our sauce that we're going to use in our different recipes. So, dial back in and be ready for our next recipe coming up in just a